Hi everyone, Queeveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to take a look ahead into the coming month of August. And of course, we have been looking ahead into the coming month of August all year long because August 12th is the date of the total solar eclipse that's going to be visible across a large portion of Europe as a partial eclipse and in Spain and Iceland as a total eclipse. So here we are, just looking at sunset on the 2nd of August. We can still see Venus in the sky as the sun goes down, but it is very, very low to the horizon. August 2nd is also the greatest western elongation of Mercury, so we will come back to sunrise on the 2nd and see if Mercury is visible to us. And of course, we know that Mercury is visible to us, there it is, because we had a look at Mars and Saturn in the morning in July, and if Mercury was visible in the morning in July before its greatest elongation, then of course it's likely to be visible in August when it reaches that greatest elongation. And we can see Mercury fairly clearly while it's low in the horizon here. So if you have a clear view to the east, it should be visible. As Mercury gets higher, of course, the sun gets brighter and it does get more difficult to see. We can see that Mercury here, as we move forward, is getting brighter, although it is getting lower in the sky as well. And we can see it having a very close conjunction there with Jupiter on the 15th. But again, this is very, very low to the eastern horizon. We'll take a closer look. So here is Mercury and Jupiter very, very close together. We can still see them as they get a little higher in the sky, but of course there is a lot of light from the sun here. Taking a closer look, we can see the circle, at least, of Mercury, some of Jupiter's moons. We would have to look a little bit closer at Mercury to see its phase, and we can see that Mercury here is practically full, which is one of the reasons it's getting brighter. If we move back to its greatest elongation here on the 2nd, we're looking at more of a half Mercury. So not as much of the face of Mercury that is illuminated is facing us. So we're not seeing as much light from Mercury. Even though it gets further away from us here, more of its illuminated face is facing us, and that makes it a bit brighter. Pulling back, we'll take a closer look at Jupiter as well. We can see some of Jupiter's moons are nice and close together, like Io and Europa here. As we move later in the month, well, there's Europa and Callisto very close together, but as we move later in the month, from some locations there will be occultations where these moons move in front of each other. Just taking a quick look here, it doesn't look like we're going to be catching them from here in Ireland, but we can see all 4 of the Galilean moons once we take a close enough look, once we zoom in enough. Now that we've moved through to the 15th from Mercury's greatest western elongation, so we see it in the morning looking to the east because it's west of the sun. At this date, we're also going to have the greatest western elongation, or sorry, the greatest eastern elongation of Venus, which means we will see it in the west. But as we can see here, Venus isn't very visible to us, even though it is technically further from the sun than it was in the past. So this is because Venus is getting lower in our sky. The ecliptic we're seeing here is lower, and as Venus circles or ellipses, as Venus orbits the sun, its orbit isn't perfectly inclined or isn't at the same inclination as ours. So Venus does appear to come around the sun and then sink down as it goes in front of it. We can see here that Venus is getting brighter. As we move back, it's getting fainter. As we move forward, it's getting brighter. If we take a closer look, we will see that Venus is getting less than full. So here we go, we'll move back. And there's Venus, tough to tell, but a little bit fuller. We'll get rid of the atmosphere to make things a little bit more clear. As we move back, Venus is getting fuller. As we move forward, it's getting less full, but it is getting closer to us, and that's what makes it appear brighter. So Venus and Mercury, they really work the opposite way in this regard. When Mercury is further from us, more of its illuminated face is facing us, so it looks brighter. When Mercury is closer to us, more of its illuminated face is facing away, so it looks fainter. With Venus, because Venus is further from the sun, it's able to get further from us on the far side of the sun and closer to us on the near side of the sun than Mercury. So when Venus goes around the sun, when it's further from us, it is fully illuminated, but it's so far from us it appears fainter. As Venus comes around the sun, we're seeing less of its illuminated side, but it's so much closer to us that it seems brighter anyway. So those are the two elongations that we're getting, one at the very start of the month, one around the middle of the month on the 15th. If we move back to the 12th, of course, the 12th is the date of the eclipse, and we will take a quick look at the eclipse in just a moment. Before we do, we will take a look at the Perseid meteor shower. I will speak more about the Perseid meteor shower once we get a little bit later into the month, but we can see the radiant of the Perseids is fairly high in the sky. So here we are looking at it on the correct date. It peaks on the 13th. We're seeing the 13th as the peak here. But if memory serves, that peak, here we are on the 12th and we're seeing 93. If we move forward to the 13th, we're only seeing 69. If we move forward past the 12th into the 13th, so we're looking at the morning of the 13th rather than the evening of the 13th, just around here at about 3:15, the current zenith hourly rate of 100 equals the maximum zenith hourly rate of 100. But the Perseid radiant is not at the zenith, so we're only seeing about 40, plus the light pollution is also a limiting factor. One good thing, because this is happening after the solar eclipse, we know it's happening around the new moon, so the moon won't be there to interfere. If we move later, the Perseids do get closer to the zenith, so the amount that we're seeing goes up to 44, but the actual zenith hourly rate has gone down to 96. Also with the rising sun, that's going to block out more of the meteors. But there's the Perseid meteor shower. Already, as soon as the sun goes down, we'll go back just to double check, but the Perseid meteor shower will be providing more to us just after sunset. We can see here 20, providing more for us just after sunset than the southern Aquariids did for us at their peak. We only got to see a few, I think it was 9, and all of those meteor showers added together only provided us about 16. The Perseids meteor shower there, we're getting up to 42 in these less than ideal conditions. If we move out to a perfect countryside sky, 87. This is very early in the morning, but we're seeing rates of up to 91 just before the sun rises. I'm getting 92 here. With this amount of light in the sky, I don't think we'd actually be seeing 92 at that point. But here we are, 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. We're getting rates in the high 80s up to 90. So a dark sky will make a very big difference. As well as Mercury and Venus and the Perseid meteor shower, we do of course have the solar eclipse, and it is happening on the 12th. So if we move back from the 13th into the 12th, I think you may have seen a flicker there. Just before the sun went down, the sky got darker and then brighter again. That is the eclipse. From here in Ireland, it's not a total solar eclipse. We will take a look at this eclipse from locations where it is total before the 12th. So in the next couple of videos, we will take another look at this eclipse. But firstly, we're going to move back just a little bit to see this eclipse beginning from here in Ireland at just after 6 o'clock, just before 6:15. So around 6:10 would be a good time to start observing this eclipse. With the correct protection, of course, you need to use solar eclipse glasses or observe the eclipse indirectly using a pinhole camera. Here we are coming up to our maximum up in the 90s. Over 90% of the sun will be obscured. We're here at just a little after 7 o'clock. We'll move forward a little bit faster and we're getting up to 96% obscured at just 12 minutes past 7. So about an hour after the eclipse begins, that's when we're going to see its real maximum. And of course, for a large portion of the beginning of the eclipse and the end of the eclipse, not enough of the sun is going to be obscured for it to be very obvious. And we can see here as the eclipse ends, it drops behind this tree. So as the eclipse ends, we miss the end of it, and of course we don't get to see it at 100% totality. However, this is going to be a really good eclipse from Ireland. It's not too low in the sky. We're seeing it here at just 7 o'clock. So if you know anywhere where the sun shines at 7 o'clock, where there isn't a shadow at 7 o'clock from trees or buildings, if you can stand in a place where the sun is shining at you at about 7:15 and you have the correct eye protection, you should be able to see this eclipse from here in Ireland. Even if you don't have the correct eye protection, you might be able to spot Venus. You can't look directly at the eclipse without using special eye protection. Venus is pretty far from the sun here, and we can see how far from the sun Venus is. If we turn off the atmosphere, we'll see Venus getting a little further away as we come up to its greatest elongation. So we can see that they are very far apart, Venus and the Sun, but unfortunately they're just not at a very good angle for us to see from here in Ireland. Thankfully, the eclipse and the Perseid meteor shower really are. So I hope you get to see some of these events in real life, and we will take a look at the planets again in a future video, again before the 2nd of August, just to give you a better idea if you are from lower latitudes. But until then, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do like it. If you like this kind of content, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you would like to read this information, you can do so on my website, queeveenscontent.ie. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.